It's going to take a few weeks for OnlyFans model Courtney Clenney to find out if a Florida judge will allow her released on bond ahead of her trial. Clenney is charged with second-degree murder for the stabbing death of her boyfriend, Christian Obumseli. A Miami-Dade County Superior Court judge heard 2 days of arguments in an Arthur hearing for Clenney. The judge plans to announce her decision on December 8th. Clenney's trial date is tentatively set for December 19th. That is likely going to be pushed until next year. The hearing comes as prosecutors release new photos of the moments after Obumseli's stabbing back in April. And the photos include a bloody picture of the alleged murder weapon. We're going to talk about all of this and the odds of her getting out. But first, here's Court TV's Vinny Politan with a look at the case against Courtney Clenney.
A social media sensation, now a suspected killer. 26-year-old Courtney Taylor Clenney is charged with second-degree murder in the death of her 27-year-old boyfriend, Christian Obumseli.
The chief medical examiner of Miami-Dade County determined that Christian's cause of death was a stab to the chest. Christian was stabbed as the knife punctured the subclavian artery in his right chest.
It all happened following a fight at the couple's luxury apartment in Miami's upscale Edgewater neighborhood. And prosecutors say fights were common in this volatile relationship.
Evidence gathered during the investigation of Christian's death showed that since November of 2020, he and the defendant, Clenney, had been involved in an extremely tempestuous and combative relationship.
The prosecutor's office would later release text messages where Obumseli confronts Clenney for slashing him with a knife more than once. They also released secret audio recordings taken by the victim.
Don't touch me! What is going on? Like, what are you gonna get this mad at me when I'm apologizing to you? No, Christian. Like, you're thinking I'm doing it on purpose? Drop your attitude. Drop your high pitch. Okay, I'm not doing it on purpose. You just are. You know well, the right thing to do is to tell me. Yes, and I am so sorry. So shut up and let me slap you.
Officials say their apartment building management received so many complaints about their loud fights, they came close to being evicted. Building cameras captured this fight in February, just weeks before Obumseli was killed. Clenney's attorney notes that the elevator video does not depict the events leading up to the altercation, and in a statement said Obumseli was the abuser, the worst kind of abuser. He would manipulate and abuse Courtney in private when he thought nobody was around. Her attorney claims she was acting in self-defense after Obumseli attacked her. In his statement to Court TV, Frank Prieto states, "It is an absolute injustice to charge a victim of domestic violence and human trafficking with a crime." He went on to say, "We will vigorously defend Courtney and clear her of this unfounded and baseless charge." This body cam footage was taken the day before the stabbing.
Right now, like, I have not always been the victim, but like right now, I'm the freaking victim in the situation. I'm scared to go downstairs.
All right. So what do you want to say?
I want to be like, I want to be like exonerated, I guess, of like anything wrong. And I want him. Okay, the police are here. I want a restraining order against Christian Obumseli.
The OnlyFans star first rose to fame as a bodybuilder.
My name is Courtney Taylor, and I'm about 8 days out from my first show, the NPC West Coast Classic. And today we're going to hit some back and vice, so let's get started.
She soon became a social media celebrity with some 2 million followers on Instagram, where she frequently posted pictures of the man she's now accused of murdering.
This homicide has gained some notoriety since the defendant, Clenney, is an internet social media personality and influencer under the name of Courtney Taylor.
Now Clenney is finding that her fame has a downside.
Yeah, you should go, because you just killed your boyfriend. Yeah, you did.
Now, on day one of the bail hearing, a City of Miami police detective who responded to the scene of Christian Obumseli's stabbing testified on what he recalled the defendant, Courtney Clenney, told him.
She told me that she was at the apartment. The victim had went down to go to Subway's. When he went to Subway's, they began to message each other, and through text messages, they got into an argument over sharing each other's location. He then decides to come back to the apartment. Shortly after he comes back to the apartment, another argument ensues. At that point, the defendant says that the victim grabbed her by the neck, slammed her against the wall. She was able to break free. And then she was gonna call her mother, and he didn't want that to happen, so he grabbed her and put her onto the ground. She wasn't able to explain how exactly that happened. After that, she was able to break free once again, at which point she goes to the kitchen. She grabs on a knife, and then she states that the victim ran towards her, and that's when she flung the knife, or threw it, and it hit him in the shoulder.
Now, the medical examiner testified on Thursday and testified to the findings of his post-mortem investigation and if he could confirm if the knife was thrown or not by Clenney.
You know, based on the information that you had in your observations, you know, the position of the wound, the angle of the wound, the depth of the wound, does that support that the victim and the defendant were face-to-face when this happened?
As a hypothetical?
As a hypothetical.
Yes.
And as another hypothetical, based on the same position, observations, the angle, the depth, does it support that the victim was stabbed?
Yes.
Based on the same observations, does it support that at least 8 to 12 pounds of force would have been used in order to create that damage?
In general, yes.
And that damage being breaking through the skin, plunging the knife 3 inches into the victim's chest, and cutting through muscle, eventually the subclavian artery?
Yes.
Now, based on the information you received that the defendant was alleged to have thrown this knife, you know, do your observations support that?
I'm not an expert in knife throwing. If the person who supposedly did this is an expert knife thrower, and the knife is a type of knife that you can throw, I guess that could have happened.
Did you receive any information that the defendant was a knife thrower?
No.
So based on that fact that you did not receive that information, would it support that?
No.
All right. The odds of her throwing that knife pretty low, unless she was an expert knife thrower, according to the expert witness. Let's bring back in Daryl Stallworth and Ted Golden. And Ted, the fact that Obum Selly was recording his girlfriend, the audio recordings are horrific, and who does that? Is that a person that's an abuser that gets someone in a certain way and records it so that he can use it later? Or is that classic abusee wanting to document what happens to him?
Sounds like he's covering himself. He's trying to make sure that whatever happens is documented, and it shows a clear and concise representation of what was occurring while this incident, while he was losing his life, obviously.
Daryl, these cases are difficult to prove because it is, you know, unfortunately, Obum Selly is dead. He can't come in and articulate the complexities of the relationship. However, you do have those audio recordings. You got the video of them in the elevator, and you have neighbors saying they're constantly fighting. What's your overall take on this case, and do you believe that Courtney Clenney, as her defense attorney has said publicly, is a victim?
The bail hearing has given us a little preview of what the trial may look like. I'm always fascinated with the pathologists because they're not going to tell you what happened. It's not like the movies where you walk up and say the person was stabbed 3 feet from right here. They give you hypotheticals, and I think that pathologist did a great job. It looks like it's going to be a problem for the defense because of this history, because of these recordings, because of the strength and the power needed to stab someone. I can see that it's going to be a hard, troubling problem. the idea that it's provoked and it's sudden impulse and all those things that knock a first-degree murder down to a second degree and maybe a manslaughter, that's probably going to be her best chance in defending this case.
Ted, it's one of those cases where the utterances made by, in this case, the defendant, in those moments after, when officers first arrive, is that not so important? Because now she's going to be confronted with the story that she threw the knife, which who knows why she blurted that out. It's a horrible story, a horrible defense for many reasons, because it sounds like it is not backed up by the physical evidence. But from your perspective in law enforcement, those moments are crucial, are they not? The first bite at the apple with a potential defendant.
Yeah, when she made those statements, she put herself in a catch-22, because once you make those statements, you can't take them back. She might be able to say, well, you know, I had some, a slight slip of my mind. It didn't happen that way. But realistically, when you make those kind of statements, it's that close to an incident, it becomes more truthful than not. And then, of course, it's kind of like testimony. You can't take it away. Once you say it, it's out there. And it's very difficult to change it or alter it in a way that would be believable.
All right, we're going to break in here. Up next, more from Courtney Clenney's Arthur hearing. That's her bond hearing, as her father takes the witness stand and backs, of course, his daughter and these self-defense claims. We'll listen to that next. Father of OnlyFans model Courtney Clenney took the stand yesterday and backed up his daughter's claims that she acted in self-defense. Kim Clenney testified during day 2 of his daughter's bail hearing. He stated that the relationship between his daughter and Christian Obumseli was, quote, very toxic from the beginning. He also doubled down on his daughter's self-defense claim, saying it was due to prolonged mistreatment by the victim in this case. Clenney is charged with second-degree murder for allegedly stabbing Obumseli to death back in April. Here's a look at Dad on the stand trying to help his daughter.
The July 27th of 2021 incident in Vegas. You heard about that yesterday?
Not yesterday, the day before.
The day before. And then the text messages from October 9th through the 11th discussing your daughter stabbing the victim in the leg and then hitting him.
I don't think I know that to be true.
Well, whether you know it to be true, you were in the court and heard it.
I did hear it, yes.
And then also in January 30th through February 1st, the state's allegations that your daughter caused this injury to the victim, slicing him to the face.
I did hear that.
And then the February 21st incident in the elevator.
Well, it's obvious that she's under duress, and we don't know what happened before or after.
Well, my question to you is, you heard about it yesterday.
I heard about it the day before yesterday.
The day before yesterday. And then in regards to March, the multiple conversations between your daughter and the defendant, where she calls him a number of different names. You heard about that yesterday?
I did hear about that, but I don't know in what context.
Certainly, I'm not asking you that. So, and then obviously the incident that took place, the date of the incident, when the defendant killed the victim. You heard about that 2 days ago.
Well, when the defendant acted in self-defense, I heard about that, yes.
Your daughter is released. Would she come back to live with you?
That's an option, yes.
And do you find her to be a danger to you?
Absolutely not.
Do you find her to be a danger to your daughter, your other daughter,
No.
or your
No.
wife?
No.
And are there any situations that you've had between, or that you've seen, that you've observed or been privy to between Ms. Clenney and your wife and your other daughter?
I think, well, no, because I think there may have been an incident, but I wasn't there. So,
did you eventually learn of what happened?
I think the sheriff's office may have been called, but she wasn't a danger to those two people.
Do you know why nothing was done further?
Judge, I'm going to object.
All right, it's Dad trying to answer some questions from the state. After the hearing, Courtney Clenney's defense team spoke to reporters about the proceedings and why they're optimistic about the defendant's case.
First of all, we're very pleased with the evidence that came out during this hearing. From the onset of this case, The government has built it on mischaracterizations of the evidence, and I think that was clear today. All the things that the state omitted and misrepresented from the inception in the search warrant, all that evidence came out. Specifically, what makes us extremely, there's no other word for it, happy about the outcome of the testimony was the medical examiner's reported testimony. Ms. Puglisi can speak to that.
Real quick, let me ask you this. Why do you think she deserves bond?
I think that all the evidence as presented in court was very clear. She's not a danger to the community, nor is she a flight risk. So Sabrina mentioned the ME.
Well, as far as the flight risk, I mean, and why she should get bond, I think it's pretty disingenuous for the state to now claim that she is a flight risk and a danger to the community when they kept her out for 4.5 months. It is clear from the evidence that she's not a harm to anybody in the community. As far as the ME, I think the biggest point was his last point, which was he cannot say that she didn't throw the knife. I mean, that's the case. How can they say that she threw it and then say he did not?
Can you also talk about testimony from the father who said that he felt that his daughter was mistreated?
There's no question she was a victim of domestic violence. And like any parent out there, he loves his daughter and he's very upset about the situation. And, you know, today he had at least a little bit of an opportunity to speak and say how he feels.
With the phone records, I mean, I know that there's been a lot of back and forth with the state and yourselves. What exactly do you think was happening in those moments between the calls to mom and then the call to 911?
Well, I think it's in you. Can you guys go straight? Sure. I think the evidence is absolutely clear, beyond a reasonable doubt, that this occurred while she was on the phone with her mother and immediately hung up and called 911. There's no and, ifs, or buts about it. She called immediately. She acted in self-defense, and we will vigorously defend her, and she will hopefully be out on bond while this is taking place.
All right, let's talk about it with criminal defense attorney Daryl Stallworth in Oakland, California, and retired DEA and special agent and former Memphis police officer Ted Golden. He's in Atlanta, Georgia. The Arthur hearing in Florida is basically a bail hearing for a serious charge, and it's two-pronged. Prosecution has to prove that there's enough evidence here for a conviction, and then also that there's the defense has to prove that there's no problem with flight risk or any other danger to society scenario. Ted, to you, what's the reality of now with bracelets and in modern law enforcement of an actual flight risk? Is Courtney Clenney a flight risk if she was out on bail? Yes, she has money, but does she have really the tools to go somewhere else?
Well, the technology that's available nowadays makes it pretty clear that people aren't as able to flee as they were in the past. The technology now is pinpoint wherever she is, they'll know where she is. And of course, one of the requirements when you are out on bond is that you be in at a certain time, or that you just be at home and you can't go anywhere else. So those things are pretty clear. The flight risk issue is a lot of times dealing with people who aren't citizens of the United States, or folks who have a tendency to travel, or they may have a guilty feeling and want to flee. That's going to be kind of hard for them to show. And a danger to the community. She's not a drug dealer. She's not someone who goes around, threatening to kill anybody else. So they're on good ground with that. And they may possibly have some grounds to get the release. But given that she killed this man with a knife, and I don't know what her injuries were like, that's something that probably would weigh in the judge's decision.
Daryl, should she be let out on bond as she awaits trial? Because it's a huge difference in terms of her short-term life as this waits, because this probably likely won't go to trial for a long time.
Bond hearings are particularly interesting because the judge normally has to presume what the prosecutor has charged to be true. And although they're putting on somewhat of a defense, it is really the presumption that what's been charged is true, and she's been charged with murder. And it cuts right to the point of, if someone's charged with murder and you presume that they committed murder, then that's a danger. I agree with Ted that she's not much of a flight risk. You can put an ankle monitor on her and figure out where she is and what she's doing, and she's not going to be able to get away with leaving the country. But the real element for review is danger. And if you presume someone for a bail hearing to be responsible for murder, stabbing someone, I believe the danger may be the strongest element in which the judge makes a decision that she probably won't get the bond.
And the recorded conversations that Obumseli secretly recorded go to that. I mean, she's unhinged at times. Here's an example of her screaming at him, telling him he needs to go charge her cell phone. He, meanwhile, is recording this because she's off the rails.
Don't touch me! What is going on? Like, what are you gonna get this mad at me when I'm apologizing to you?
No, Christian.
Like, you're thinking I'm doing it on
Drop your drop your high pitch.
Okay, I'm not doing it on purpose.
You trust Alright, you know well the right thing to do is to tell me.
Yes, and I am so sorry.
So shut up and let me slap you.
You're not gonna slap me.
Give me my phone.
You have your phone.
I don't have it anymore. Find it and charge it.
Why?
That is one of the audio recordings, and Ted, she seems a bit unstable, and a reference was made to a police or sheriff's department call to the house when she was living with mom and sister and dad. Is there an argument that she is a danger, maybe not to just society in general, but to her loved ones?
It obviously demonstrates a pattern of behavior. Clearly, they had a very volatile relationship. It's very well documented, not just in the elevator incident, but with the recording that he was able to make himself. Those kind of things tend to let the judge know that she has a volatile personality and that she is one of those folks that's very aggressive. And of course, with him being killed because of her aggressive nature, I think that there's a strong belief that he's probably going to keep her behind bars because her attitudes and her way of acting and even the presentation of the audio lets you know that she's an aggressive person.
Here she is again, Obumseli, this time recording on his cell phone video. You can kind of see them, but you're going to hear them. Take a listen.
When it hit 5 a.m.,
Decide whether or not you're done gaslighting me. Decide whether or not you're done gaslighting.
I am mad that you told me to come.
Decide right now.
Courtney, that's a threat. I asked you so many times that I don't know, and I apologize. But you hit me.
Shut the don't.
Daryl, can these, as we fast forward to an actual trial, can the defense use all of these interactions, these recordings between them somehow to their advantage if they establish a narrative of abuse coming from Obumseli's side too, saying that they were both guilty and it takes two to tango?
The defense would have to be very careful because on the face of this audio recording, it looks like he is the victim and she's been abusing him and he wants to make sure there's a record of it. But if they're going to try to flip it and make it seem like he's doing this just to cover his abuse in order to argue later that he was only doing this to make sure that he was going to be able to counter or defend himself against what she was doing, that's going to be a stretch. They're going to have to find something or they're going to have to present something to make him a very methodical sociopath, that he's a violent person, he's an abuser, but he's going to secretly record his actions with his alleged victim in order to protect himself whenever she does something to him. I think that's a lot for a defense to be able to get a jury to digest.
Yeah, Ted, that's like second level saying, okay, he's the mastermind abuser, and but every now and then he pushes her buttons to the point where she freaks out, and then he records it so that he can save, it's ridiculous, isn't it, on its face?
Well, dead men can't speak, so whatever recording he's made is his testimony. The intent, obviously, for the defense is to demonize him, and the advantage they have right now is with all this testimony about her bond hearing, they're getting a very good view of the evidence the state has, and they can come up with a plausible explanation of what happened. So there's a disadvantage for the state, but a great advantage for defense attorneys to be able to get all this information up front.
Yeah, absolutely. Again, this Arthur hearing was a 2-day hearing, took place in Miami. The judge has reserved judgment, and she will rule one way or another if Courtney Clenney will be out on bond on December 8th, likely a written decision. and that will be a game changer for her. Otherwise, she'll be incarcerated through the holidays and the months and months that lead up to trial. The charges against her serious enough to absolutely keep her incarcerated during that period of time. We'll wait and see what happens.